I have taken this data directly from an example from my online class just because I thought it was a helpful demonstration of some of the previous concepts. In the example, a company is selling a product, and we have data on the amount spent on advertising, the price that was offered to the customer, whether or not a coupon was sent, and whether or not a promotional email was sent. We are going to connect these four factors to the acquisition probability, since all of these likely factor into whether or not a prospect becomes a customer. The numerical model that we are going to build will find a value for the intercept and coefficients for all four of the factors. Columns A through D are the different marketing variables, and each row represents the specific marketing activities that were geared toward each prospect. Column E tells us, did the prospect end up becoming a customer? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Since a prospect making a purchase is a binary choice, this data will follow a Bernoulli distribution. Columns A through D represent our X variables, and column E represents our outcome. Column F will contain our linear combination, comprised of an intercept and the impact of each of the marketing activities. This will be translated into the likelihood in column G, which will take into account whether or not the prospect became a customer. Just as a helpful trick for estimation, we're going to convert the likelihood to a log likelihood in column H. Then we will use the solver function in Excel to find values for the intercept and X variables that will maximize the probability of observing our data. First, I'm going to put placeholder values in the cells that will later contain the values for the intercepts and coefficients for price, email, coupon, and advertising factors. In cell F2, I'm going to write a regression equation. I'm using absolute references for the values that I want to remain constant in every equation by selecting the cell and then using the shortcut of Command T. The equation is the intercept, Command T for absolute value, plus the effective price, which will be the coefficient times the price for that customer, or the price offered to that customer, plus the effect of whether or not an email was sent, plus the effect of whether or not a coupon was sent, plus the effect of units of advertising for that specific customer. Right now, we're getting an answer of 0 due to the placeholders for the intercept and coefficients in column K, but that will change. To copy the formula down the column, I'm going to place my mouse in the bottom corner to get the crossbars and double-click. The likelihood is associated with what's the probability of a certain outcome and did we observe that outcome. So we will use an if statement. If the acquisition happened, then the probability will be according to the logit model, which we learned about in the last video. So that would be the exponential function of e raised to the power of the linear combination divided by 1 plus the exponential function of e raised to the power of the linear combination. If the acquisition didn't happen, the answer is 1 minus p, or 1 minus that logit probability. We can write that mathematically as 1 over 1 plus the exponential function of e raised to the power of the linear combination. Now I'm just going to close this off with parentheses and again copy it down throughout the rest of the column. In the last clip, I made a brief error and didn't put the appropriate parentheses around this part of the equation, which just serves as another reminder to always double check the parentheses. But I fixed it now, and now this column is all 0.5 because, again, we're using these 0 placeholders in column K. So to get the log likelihood, we're just going to take the natural log, ln, of the likelihood. Now our sample log likelihood will be the sum of all individual log likelihoods. So it will be the sum of H2 to 1. Now I'm going to go to the solver feature on Excel to find the intercept and coefficient values. So I go to the data ribbon and then solver. The solver will ask us what cell contains our objective. That will be the sample log likelihood. So that is indeed cell K7. And then we want to maximize this log likelihood. And in order to do that, we can manipulate, yes, cells K1 through K5. So now we can solve. Okay. So these are now the coefficients that would maximize the sample log likelihood, or the likelihood of observing the data that we observed, which is really just modeling our data again at the very basic root of it. And so from these coefficients, we can see that the intercept is negative, the price has a negative effect on customer acquisition. So as price goes up, the likelihood of customer acquisition goes down. And as expected, email, coupon, and advertising all have a positive effect on customer acquisition. Using these findings, we can then experiment with different weights of each marketing activity and hypothetically see what the likelihood is for conversion. This would help to create an effective marketing strategy.